It's 10:20. Means it's 4:20 somewhere. If you got one, spark up. All right. So I don't know. The YouTube studio was acting up, so that's why there was a late drop for part 7. But tonight we're gonna do part 8. When will Jesus bring the pork chops? Long segments. Plus, I tend to ramble, so let's just go ahead and get right to it.
Rhetoric becomes ornate, and so as we part, let me state that I hope you have a memorable tomorrow, including, but not limited to, the promising golden hours of morning, the full rich bloom of afternoon, and of course the quiet gentle hours of evening, when time, pausing for an instant and breathing a small sigh, rushes forward to greet the newly forming day. I hope you appreciate the extra effort.
This is where we left off.
At some point, someone who worked at Rockefeller Center must have said, "Boys, I have a great idea for Christmas. Let's kill a beautiful tree that's been alive for 75 years and bring it to New York City here. We'll stand it up in Rockefeller Plaza and conceal its natural beauty by hanging shiny, repulsive man-made objects on it and let it stand there slowly dying for several weeks while simple-minded children stare at it and people from Des Moines take pictures of it. That way, perhaps we can add our own special obscene imprint to Christmas in Midtown." Regarding the criticism of Al Gore's actions upon being elected president in 2000, and realizing that the Bush family would do everything in its power to reverse the results illegally, I recall at the time hearing some of the usual morons in this country refer to President-elect Al Gore as a sore loser because he sought legal redress in the courts and he kept seeking it. Sore loser? You bet your fucking ass. What on earth is wrong with being a sore loser? It shows you cared about whatever the contest was in the first place. Fuck losing graciously. That's for chumps, and losers, by the way. Americans have flat out lost their spirit. You see it everywhere.
It's funny he brings up the 2000 election. I was just a freshman for that. But I remember we ended up doing a little exercise in a history class. We had to vote for something, and then I don't fucking know. It was stupid. But you go back to that one, and then you look at 2016, and then 2020. 2024 is gonna be one hell of a fucking year. Let's get back to it, though.
Ever watch these hockey assholes? When the game is over, they're forced to line up and shake hands with one another after spending 3 hours smashing each other in the mouth with sticks. Biggest load of shit I've ever witnessed. Whatever happened to in victory, magnanimity, in defeat, defiance? So said Frederick the Great. More about euphemisms. These days, people who have jobs are called members of the workforce. But I can't help thinking, the Russian Revolution would have been a lot less fun if the communists had been running through the streets yelling, "Members of the workforces of the world unite." And I'm sure Marx and Lenin would not be pleased to know that today employees who refuse to work no longer go out on strike. They engage in a job action that results in a work stoppage. And if a work stoppage lasts long enough, the company doesn't hire scabs, it brings in replacement workers. And when it comes to firing people, companies try desperately to depersonalize the process so that no human being is ever seen to fire another. The language is extremely new.
That was one thing I could never do. Snitch on somebody to a point where I know they would get fired. Like, especially, I mean, fuck, you don't know what they're going through. You don't know if they got kids, shit like that. That's one thing that blows my mind. Like, when a customer takes the most pettiest of things amplifies it to level 100 and does their damnedest to try and get somebody fired. And it's like, oh, just like you, they got bills to pay. And you gonna fucking get them fired over fucking stupid shit. I don't know. That's just me.
And whatever blame there is goes to something called global market forces. Fucking foreigners. And these companies go through some truly exotic verbal gymnastics to describe what's taking place, although I'm not sure it makes the individuals in question feel any better. After all, being fired, released, or terminated would seem a lot easier to accept than being non-retained, dehired, or selected out. Nor would I be thrilled to be told that because the company was downsizing, right-sizing, or scaling down, I was part of an involuntary force reduction. I really don't care that my company is reshaping and streamlining, and that in order to manage staff resources, a focused reduction is taking place, and I'm one of the workers being transitioned out. Just fire me, please. I read somewhere that apparently one company's senior management didn't understand the fuss about this issue. After all, they said, all they were doing was eliminating the company's employment security policy by engaging in a deselection process in order to reduce duplication. By the way, when those deselected people begin to look for new jobs, they won't have to be bothered reading the want ads. Those listings are now called employment opportunities. Makes you feel a lot better, doesn't it? More euphemisms. American companies now put a great deal of effort into boosting their employees' self-esteem by handing out inflated job titles. Most likely they think it also helps compensate for the longer hours, unpaid overtime, and stagnant wages that have become standard. It doesn't. However, such titles do allow an ordinary store clerk to tell some girl he's picking up at a bar that he's a product specialist or a retail consultant. If it turns out she's a store clerk too, but her store uses different euphemisms, then she may be able to inform him that she's a sales counselor or a customer service associate. And for a while there, they're under the impression that they actually have different jobs. These are real job titles, currently in use to describe employees whose work essentially consists of telling customers, we're all out of medium. Nothing wrong with that, but it's called store clerk, not retail consultant, and not customer service associate. Apparently stores feel they can charge more for merchandise sold by a customer service associate than they can for the same junk sold by a clerk. By the way, if a clerk should be unhappy with his title, he can always move to a different store, where he may have a chance of being called a product service representative, a sales representative, or a sales associate. And I hope you took note of that word associate. That's a hot word with companies now. I saw a fast food employee.
Sorry about that. Playing with the cat, she kind of hit the button to make the camera go out. But, rewinded it back a few seconds.
Where this is true, his name tag said associate. Okay? It's the truth. Apparently, instead of money, they now give out these bogus titles. At another fast food place, Au Bon Pain, I noticed the cashier's name tag said hospitality representative. The cashier! The name tag was pinned to her uniform. The people who sell these uniforms, by the way, now refer to them as career apparel, or even worse, teamwear. I had to sit down when I heard that one. Teamwear. Teams are also big in business, almost as big as associates. In Los Angeles' Kookaroo restaurants, the employees' name tags say team member. At a Whole Foods supermarket, I talked to the head of the meat department about ordering a special item. I figured he was the head butcher, but his name tag identified him as the meat team leader. Throw that on your resume. I guess the people under him would have been meat team associates. I didn't stick around to ask. So it's all about employee morale. And in a lot of companies, as part of morale building, the employees are called staff. But it's all right because most customers are now called clients. With those designations, I guess the companies can pay the staff.
My favorite one was when I I used to work restaurants. I was waiting tables. It was with several managers um, that I used to have the argument with, but it was one where I was waiting tables, um, and I called him a customer, and they're like, guest. She corrected me mid sentence. I said customer. She said guest. I said, yeah, the customer, and she again corrected me, guests. We don't have customers. We have guests. They say. I was like, no, we have customers. They come in, they pay, blah, 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 blah. She goes, yes, but we're supposed to treat them like guests. I was like, you do not want me treating these customers like a guest in my house. Because the way like, I've had customers throw food at me because their food got fucked up. Not on my end, but like this one lady, her burger bun was hard, and that is somehow me, the wait staff. So apparently, I'm supposed to touch all her food and make sure everything's good. I can look at it. Do you really want someone handling all your food, making sure your bun's not hard, shit like that? Just throw it at me. A lot of patience required to wait tables, especially at corporate establishments. Those are the worst.
Half less and charge the clients more. I'm not sure when all this job title inflation began, but it's been building for a while. At some point in the past 30 years, secretaries became personal assistants or executive assistants. Many of them now consider those terms too common, so they call themselves administrative aides. Everyone wants to sound more important these days. Teachers became educators. Drummers became percussionists. Movie directors became filmmakers. Company presidents became chief executive officers. Family doctors became primary care providers. Manicurists became nail technicians. Magazine photographers became photojournalists. Weightlifters became bodybuilders. And bounty hunters now prefer to be called recovery agents.
What was it called? Newspeak? 1984?
And speaking of lifting, those retail store security people who keep an eye on shoplifters are known as loss prevention managers. Why not be a schmuck, a licensed practicing schmuck, or, if you qualify, a CPS, a certified public schmuck? It may not seem like it when you look around, but there's actually a shortage of schmucks in America. As a result, there's big money in schmucking. The average schmuck earns $28,000 a year plus benefits, and there are openings for schmucks in every field. The government is run by schmucks, big business is run by schmucks, and the retail field is crawling with schmucks. And more people are becoming independent freelance schmucks on their own. Call the Schmuck Technical Institute today and get our free booklet, Hey Putz, Be a Schmuck. Most people only manage to be schmucks at parties, but here's your chance to become a full-time, year-round schmuck. Give us a call. Don't be a schmuck. Be a schmuck. Here are my predictions for the future. In the future, the human lifespan will be extended to 200 years, but the last 150 will be spent in unremitting pain and sadness. No one will take drugs, but people will still buy them and conceal them from the police. Children will be required to attend school only when something comes up in conversation they do not understand. All people will speak the same language, but no one will speak it well. Science will develop exotic flowers capable of producing music. Most of these plants will be exploited by record companies. All farming will cease, and the land will be used for loitering. Although people will not keep pets of any kind, someone will still occasionally step in dog shit. A race of people living in the center of the earth will be discovered when one of them comes out to buy a sun lamp. Miners will exploit the ocean floor, and when trapped in a mine, the wives who gather to wait at the entrance will be forced to tread water. A team of astronauts will attempt to harness a comet and never be seen again. The human body will develop fins and gills, and beach property will increase tenfold in value. Man will learn to control the weather with a large hammer. A time machine will be built, but no one will have time to use it. At birth, religions will charge people an initial fee of $50,000 and then pretty much leave them alone.
If you had access to a time machine, what would you do? Personally, I'd go back to maybe 18-year-old me, buy Bitcoin. That's all I'd say. Buy Bitcoin. Man, I wish I would have been wise to that.
All the knowledge in the world will be contained on a single tiny silicon chip, which someone will misplace. People will be born with just enough money to last until they get seriously ill. The speed of the Earth's rotation will increase, and everyone less than 5 feet tall will be flung off into space, including Paul Anka. The sun's light will diminish until it is the equivalent of a 40-watt bulb, and people with highly developed squinting skills will have a survival advantage. Every part of the human body will become replaceable, but all parts will be back-ordered for 6 months. A utopian society ruled by women will emerge, and there will be peace and plenty for all. However, many men will still act like macho assholes. People will change clothes every 6 minutes, but still never be quite happy with their appearance. Cities will be built under huge glass domes, which in time will be completely covered by graffiti. Chickens will operate on gasoline, and surprisingly, many of them will get good mileage. Genetic scientists will develop vegetables too big to be transported, and they will have to be eaten right at the farm. The insane will no longer be housed in asylums. Instead, they will be displayed in department store windows. The oceans will dry up, and people will find things they dropped in the toilet many years ago. There will be no doctors or medicines of any kind, and everyone will be really sick. Eventually, it will no longer be necessary to forecast the future, because time will disappear and everything will happen at once. You ever notice this? Whenever we go into some country we've bombed, burned, and occupied, we always find mass graves full of dead people who were killed by the deposed dictator before we got there. And everybody in the United States acts like they're real surprised and disgusted. But when you think about it, what's a guy supposed to do with all those bodies after he's killed a couple of thousand people? Dig a separate hole for each one? Put up little markers with their names on them? Get real, for Christ's sakes. The whole idea of killing a couple of thousand people all at once in one place is to save time. Besides, all the United States ever does is complain a little, take a picture, and then leave. So what's the fucking difference? You know what I find interesting? Landmines. Here are a few great statistics. Listen to this. There are 340 different types of landmines made by 100 different companies. Every day, that's every day, roughly 6,000 fresh mines are placed in the ground. Right now, there are 110 million landmines in 72 countries, and every 22 minutes, one of them explodes. 75 mines explode every day, and each month 700 people are maimed or killed. That's 26,000 people a year. Don't you find that interesting? And mines cost only $3 to make and to put in the ground, but they cost $100 to disarm and remove. If you tried to remove them all, it would cost $33 billion, and it would take 1,100 years. They cost $3 a piece, and they last indefinitely. Wouldn't it be nice if other products could make that claim? Here's another funny statistic. In Cambodia, 1 out of every 236 civilians is missing a limb or an eye from an exploded landmine. Cambodia now has 30,000 people, with at least one missing limb. And they still have 4 million mines in the ground. It makes you wonder whether or not some unlucky one-legged Cambodian guy has ever stepped on a landmine with his good leg. I'll bet it's happened. I'll bet anything there's some guy in Cambodia who has hit the lottery twice. I tried to think of what would be the most entertaining way of setting off a landmine, and I decided it would be to land on one while doing a cartwheel. Wouldn't that be weird to see? Makes you wonder if the high school cheerleading squads in Cambodia keep mine detectors handy. These are the kind of thoughts I have when I'm sitting home alone and things are slow. Be a doctor in just 3 weeks. Yes, thanks to our accelerated learning program, you can be a doctor in just 3 weeks, and you only have to study 20 minutes a day, or become a dentist in just 1 afternoon. Don't like your present job? Don't fit into the current job market? Be a doctor or a dentist. It's easy. Call now and we'll include a nursing course for your wife. In fact, we can make your wife a nurse over the phone. Call Accelerated Medical School now. Don't be an asshole. Be a doctor. I don't know. Or at least I don't know if I know. And I don't even know if I care to know if I know. I don't know what you mean. You know, I don't know what I mean. You know what I mean? What do you mean you don't know what you mean? I don't know what you mean. I don't know. You don't know? You mean that? I don't know. Here we have a news story that took place over time. Chicago, May 1st. Police announced today they have found evidence of a murder dismemberment. In a North Side dumpster, they have found a right arm, a left leg, and the eyebrows of an adult white male. Police say the eyebrows are bushy and had recently been plucked. According to spokesmen, the search for additional body parts will continue. May 6th. Here is further news on that North Side dismemberment. Police have now found a set of blonde sideburns, a lower lip, 2 matching buttocks, a middle finger, a knee, and 2.5 grams of armpit hair. As yet they have no identification, but sources say they're glad that at least it's still only one person they appear to be finding. May 12th. More on the dismemberment story. The police theory that they were dealing with only one body was shattered today when they discovered 44 male nipples in a vending machine. 26 of the nipples have hair, 18 do not. One of them has a nipple ring inscribed Lonnie and Marie. They also have come across a belly button, a calf, and several hundred warts, all found in a Hooters parking lot. Lint from the belly button leads police to believe the Naval's owner was wearing a plaid shirt. The investigation continues. May 23rd. Here is the latest from the North Side. Police are now puzzled as to just how many bodies are involved. Today they found an Adam's apple, a hunchback, 6 heels, a pair of unmatching nostrils, a large bag of freckles, 24 additional belly buttons, a blonde goatee, half a neck, and a suitcase full of knuckles. They say all the knuckles have recently been cracked. Cannibalism may be involved, as police have found a rib cage that shows traces of barbecue sauce. Letter to a friend. Dear Manny, it was great to see you at the hospital last Sunday. You looked good and sounded very positive about yourself. Each time I visit, I can see how much you've improved. I will say, though, it was a lot more fun when you were really fucked up and couldn't remember anything. Sincerely, Arlo.
Alright, let's go ahead and stop it there. Where does half of this come from? Like, he had a very interesting mind. I don't even know what else to say on that. Like, oops. But yeah, that was part 8 of what's, let's see, we're 2 hours 40 minutes in. We're almost to the halfway point. Yeah, playlist is in the back at the channel. I also have a playlist for my rants. Tomorrow I'll probably do another rant. then I'll get back to part 9 on Monday. And then I'm going camping for a few days. But yeah, y'all, thanks for watching. Have a nice evening. Stay blazing.